Elk, you gotta come back with me.
Back to where? No, wait, let me guess. We're going to the 80s to invest in Apple. No, wait. We're going to the 90s to save Crystal Pepsi. No, wait. I know what we're doing. We're going back to prevent Trump from deleting the Epstein files. Well, no, wait. What are we doing?
We're going back to the future.
That's right. It's the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future. Great Scott.
This is heavy.
Couple of guys who like to watch movies, cinema nerds who made it our duty to make a show where we break down, discuss, and review. Hey, we're the men who watch movies.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Men Who Watch Movies. My name is Alec.
And my name's DJ the Movie Man Wagner, also known as the COE of the Men Who Watch Movies. Oh yeah, that's the Chairman of Entertainment.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's a different format. We finally figured out how to do online podcasting.
Yep.
As you can see, DJ's in the studio, and I'm over here in my house. It's just easier this way, you know.
Hey guys,
I can't always make it over to the studio, so I figured this is the next best thing, and then we can finally start making regular videos, and we don't have to skip a week and go ghost protocol on everybody. It'd be so much better, and then we can actually have a regular schedule. Hoping to release every Wednesday, but I'll keep you guys updated. But yeah, today we're going to talk about the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future. I got my Hill Valley High School shirt on in honor. It's one of our favorite movies of all time. Would you say?
Oh, definitely. It's one of the greats.
Yeah, amazing movie. We just want to talk about it. Some of our favorite moments. Throw in some facts and some fun facts here and there. But first, before we get into all that, we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, and we're going to talk about what's going on in this crazy industry this week in movie news. Cue that intro. All right. We have a lot of great stuff this week in movie news for you all. We're going to go through it all right now. And then bear with us. There might be a few technical snafus and whatnot. I'm still figuring out this whole online, over-the-internet video chat podcast stuff. So bear with me here. So let me see here. We're going to bring up the movie news for you right now. There we go. Everything's working just fine. All right. Our first bit of movie news, Charlize Theron is calling out a persistent gender bias in Hollywood's action genre, pointing out that studios are far less willing to back female-led action films compared to those starring men. What do you think?
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with her that there definitely is a lacking in female-led action films. I feel like there does need to be more. There are some great, movies, of course, starring females in the action genre. I mean, of course, you have Ripley from the Alien movies. I mean, of course, herself, she was Furiosa, who basically led, the Mad Max reboot. But I definitely agree. There should be more, and there should be an effort to include, a lot of more women filmmakers, especially. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, definitely, and I think the big part of that is not only making women-led action films. I feel like they got to be behind the camera as well. They got to be the writers, they got to be the directors, in order to see that real change. Because you can have men making these movies, but then it's kind of a moot point because they're the ones puppeteering these women actors, and not to say they couldn't make a good woman-led action film. I mean, you have like Tarantino. He made the Kill Bill movies were excellent. But I definitely think there needs to be more variety. And not just with women too. There needs to be more inclusivity in general in Hollywood. And they've been making a lot more concerted efforts to do so. They've been striving more in that direction. But there's always room to grow. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely, I would agree.
Awesome. All right. Moving on to our next bit of movie news. On the flip side of that coin, Scarlett Johansson has officially become Hollywood's highest-grossing lead actor with a career box office total of $14.8 billion, surpassing both Samuel L. Jackson and Robert Downey Jr., both her MCU co-stars. I think that's amazing. Scarlett Johansson's been doing great for herself. So you said you saw the new Jurassic Park movie? How was it?
Oh yeah, it was very, very good. Very, very interesting. Brand new take on Jurassic Park. Very different. Very, very creative. It was very different.
I heard they're doing like mutated dinosaurs and stuff. It's like a mutant.
Yeah.
Interesting. I guess that's the only place you could really go. I mean, the dinosaurs themselves have always been kind of mutants because they had to splice their genes with like frogs and shit. But I heard they're really going wacky. I don't know. Someone online compared the new dinosaur to One-Eye Willie from the Goonies. I don't know. He looks really mutated and strange, or like the Toxic Avenger or some shit. I don't know. I'm not interested in seeing those movies, but good for Scarlett Johansson. She's doing great for herself, obviously. She's raking in those bucks. All right. Moving on. Some MCU movie news. Apparently, Thor 5 is rumored to be in the works. Chris Hemsworth is expected to reprise his role as the God of Thunder. Taika Waititi has officially stepped aside, but Hemsworth is actively involved in bringing on a new director. He's pushing for Sam Hargrave, known for directing Extraction. Have you seen those Extraction movies on Netflix?
Oh, I have. They're very, very good.
They're really good, yeah. And Chris Hemsworth does a great job being the lead action in a more grounded type of action movie. We used to seeing him in, as Thor, which is very fantastical. But those are some good movies. So that would bring a little bit of the more seriousness. I mean, I didn't mind the goofy Taika Waititi stuff, but he really took it too far with Thor, Love and Thunder, and I think it's because he was tired of directing big action, tentpole movies, and he just wanted to get out of there. So I think he crashed it into the ground. At least I think. I don't know. That's allegedly, but yeah. So additionally, acclaimed filmmaker George Miller, who did Mad Max Fury Road and Furiosa, which Hemsworth was in Furiosa. He has shown interest and reportedly met with Kevin Feige about directing, a meeting apparently facilitated by Hemsworth himself. According to leaks, Thor 5 is eyed to start filming in fall 2025, likely to follow Avengers Secret Wars, with script and director duties still in progress. No official announcements have been made yet. Would you be interested in Thor 5?
Oh, definitely. I would be interested if the plot is good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the bottom line. I think the MCU has been on very shaky ground because they haven't been paying attention to the plot. They haven't had a steady storyline. It's been really kind of all over the place, and they've been doing their TV shows. It's been a roller coaster of quality. So I don't know. I like Thor as a character, but I'm very hesitant about any new projects they're putting out. I heard the what's it called, the what's the last one that came out with, the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts. I heard the Thunderbolts was good, although it underperformed at the box office. I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think it also underperformed at the box office. Everyone's just tired with Marvel.
You make me sick.
But on the side note, I heard Superman is doing extremely well. So,
oh yeah, I saw that movie.
You did? I want to see it. Well, I want to talk about it on one of these podcast episodes.
Oh yeah, I
mean, don't no spoilers, no spoilers.
The movie is very, very good.
I heard. I definitely want to see it. Good for James Gunn. He could prove those Snyder bitches wrong.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
Right. Moving on. Another Chris is returning to another franchise. Apparently, Chris Pratt is set to reprise his role as Garfield in an animated sequel to the 2024 film, The Garfield Movie, which is a surprise financial success, earning $257 million worldwide on a $60 million budget. Produced by Alcon Entertainment with DNEG Animation. Pratt will also come on board as a producer, although no director or writer has been named yet. The first installment featured voices by Samuel L. Jackson as Garfield's father, Vic, Hannah Waddingham, Nicholas Hoult, and others. No release date has been announced, and additional cast and creative team details will be revealed in due course. Have you seen the new animated Garfield movie?
Oh yeah, I've seen it on Netflix. It's very, very funny.
It's okay. Yeah, I was surprised. Yeah, at first I thought, oh man, this is complete garbage. But I saw it. We watched it with my daughter, and she liked it. She likes cats. So I can't say it was better than I thought it would be. I guess that's the most glowing review I could give it. I'm usually down on the whole, they keep recasting the same guy in the same animated movies. Like, they cast him in Garfield and as Mario. I got to say the Mario one is way better. But it was sufficient. It was good. It's a fun family film. So we'll see. We'll see where this next one takes us. Although I still...
We'll see. Life's a mystery.
It is. Although I still have a love for the originals with Lorenzo music.
Definitely. They're a classic.
Yeah, of course, he R.I.P. He passed away, I think, years ago. But he also did the voice of Peter Venkman in the early Real Ghostbusters cartoons.
Oh, that's right. I've seen it. It's funny.
Which is funny because then Bill Murray played the live-action Garfield, and he played the live-action Peter Venkman. So it's a little bit of a strange connection there. I don't know what that's about, if they did that intentionally or not. But not to get too off topic. All right, let's keep this movie train rolling. Next bit of movie news. There's going to be a Hot Wheels movie. Do you like Hot Wheels? I remember when we were little, you collected all those Hot Wheels, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm a big collector.
Do you still collect Hot Wheels?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I
do. I collect a few. I'm not a huge Hot Wheels collector, but I collect the movie.
I have a bunch of actually they're Hot Wheels cars of Batmobiles.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have a great Hot Wheels Batmobile collection. That's right. I bought you the Batman Forever one for your birthday.
Oh yeah.
But I've been collecting some movie ones like that too. But I have the Back to the Future 3 DeLorean and Hot Wheels, and I also have I've been looking out actually for the 40th anniversary. They put out a Biff's car covered in manure, and I have to have it. I want the Biff shit car, but I cannot find it anywhere yet. Maybe I have to find it on eBay or something or Amazon. But I want it. That's a fun one. It's just literally a car covered in a pile of shit.
That is one big pile of shit.
What joy. Okay, but yeah, anyways, the Hot Wheels movie, supposedly it's going to be directed by John M. Chu, also known for the blockbuster hits Crazy Rich Asians and Wicked. He has been confirmed to helm the upcoming live-action Hot Wheels movie for Mattel and Warner Brothers, with production by his Electric Somewhere company and J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot. The script is being written by Creed 2 and the clone Tyrone writers Jill Taylor and Tony Rettenmeyer. Chu expressed enthusiasm for translating the toys line spirit of imagination, connection, and playfulness into a high-octane cinematic adventure. Mattel Studios President Robbie Brenner praised Chu's talent for visual spectacle combined with narrative depth, calling him the ideal storyteller to bring Hot Wheels to life. Following the massive success of 2023's Barbie, this film is part of Mattel's expanding slate, which also includes adaptations of Masters of the Universe, Barney, and others. So we'll see. I mean, I think that's a great thing, bringing on such a creative filmmaker. They can do some inventive things with these properties, because it's one thing, it's like, you make a car movie and he's racing the car, but I think they really need to think outside of the box, like Greta Gerwig did with Barbie, to make a really good movie. Otherwise it's going to be just crap. Would you go see the Hot Wheels movie?
Oh yeah,
I would check it out too, especially if John M. Chu. I mean, Wicked, you know what, I gotta admit, I haven't seen Wicked yet.
Boo, you whore.
Not really, but I
want to check it out. I feel left out. It was a big, huge box office success. I want to watch it. It's on Peacock. I have Peacock. I need to watch it. But I mean, someone that could do a great movie like that, I feel like he could do something creative with this. So we'll see. Back in the day, I would have just shit on it, be like, oh, look, another, they're trying to sell more product. I mean, I'm not to say that's not what this is, but all movies in a way are trying to sell themselves. So, I'm trying to take the less cynical route, and if they can get a creative filmmaker to do something cool with it, I never thought they would be able to make such a creative Barbie movie, but hey, look at that, So I'm keeping my mind open. All right. Moving on. Next bit of movie news: Ant-Man actors retire. Michael Douglas and Evangeline Lilly are retired from acting. What do you think about that?
It's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see them in more movies, but especially Evangeline Lilly. She's young still. Like, I'm surprised she's retired from acting. But Michael Douglas is like 80, so I mean, I could see why he's been working forever. So, it's sad to see them retire, but a lot of people are making fun of the fact that their last movie was Ant-Man Quantumania, and they think that has something to do with it because it was so bad. I didn't mind it. I liked Quantumania. Did you like Quantumania?
Oh yeah, it's good. It has Bill Murray as a Bill Murray cameo, so
Oh yeah, I almost
one of
forgot
them.
about that. I don't
Yeah.
remember much about that movie, although I remembered liking it. But I just remembered Bill Murray was in it. How did I forget that? Oh, I don't know.
the
There's so many-
Hurricane.
Yeah. That's true, huh? I guess it is kind of forgettable. But that's not the movie's fault. I think it's just the MCU's fault for being oversaturated. But yeah, it's gonna be sad to see them retire. But Michael Douglas, especially, he's well earned. He's been an establishment in this industry, so he needs to enjoy his retirement. Here is a bubbly water to you, sir.
Yes.
Sorry,
Thumbs up.
Just thirsty. All right. And next bit of movie news: Night at the Museum reboot is in the works. What do you think about that?
That should be interesting.
Apparently, Disney's 20th Century Studios is developing a new live-action Night at the Museum reboot featuring a fresh storyline and entirely new characters. Original trilogy director Sean Levy returns as producer alongside Dan Levine and Emily Morris under their 21 Laps Entertainment banner. Stuber and Die Hard writer Tripper Clancy, has been tapped for the screenplay. While no other director has been cast or announced yet, the reboot aims to reimagine the magic of exhibits coming to life for a new generation of audiences. Personally, I don't think this needs to happen. We had a great, was it a trilogy of Night at the Museum movies?
Oh yeah, with Robin Williams and Ben Stiller and just a great trilogy of movie.
Yeah, I think the biggest part that's missing is going to be Robin Williams. He had such a big integral role in those movies. And of course, Ben Stiller was great. I don't know. We didn't need this. Maybe they can do something interesting with it. I don't know. I'll keep a positive, open mind. But personally, I don't think this needed to happen. we had a great run with the originals. Only, like I said, only time will tell. Maybe they'll find.
Yep.
Maybe they'll find something creative to do. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Moving on. Our last bit of movie news is a very sad bit of movie news. Australian-American actor Gillian McMahon has passed away peacefully on July 2nd, 2025 in Clearwater, Florida, following a private battle with cancer. He was only 56 years old, man. That's sad. McMahon,
He's young.
He's widely recognized for his dynamic performances as Dr. Christian Troy on Nip Tuck and Cole Turner on Charmed, as well as Victor Von Doom in the Fantastic Four films. He led a rich career spanning television and cinema. His wife, Kelly McMahon, described him as a man who loved life, family, work, fans, and asked for privacy as their family grieves. He leaves behind a legacy of charisma, warmth, and talent. What a legend. Of course, I was too young when Nip Tuck came out. I wasn't that young, but it wasn't something I was interested in. But probably you the same. We grew up with him as Victor Von Doom from Fantastic Four. That was right in our demographic. What a legend! A lot of people poo-pooed his performance as Doctor Doom, but I loved it. I thought he did a good job with it. It wasn't like the greatest, oh my god, mind-blowing thing, but I loved those movies. I even liked it better than Batman Begins when it came out. They came out the same year. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about his performance?
It's awesome. It's incredible.
Yeah. I loved him. I loved his acting. He is Doctor Doom to me, and he'd definitely be greatly missed. A lot of tributes have been pouring in. Co-stars like Jolie Richardson revisited their Nip Tuck chemistry, reminiscing that he entered a room and called him charismatic and unforgettable. The ones that hit me the hardest, though, were his Fantastic Four co-stars. Johan Grufford wrote, "This is terribly sad news about Julian. Even though we played each other's nemesis, there was always so much lightness and laughter working together. Every encounter with him was a joy. It was an honor to be Dr. Richards to his Dr. Doom. My heart goes out to his wife and family." And then Michael Chiklis wrote, "I'm devastated to hear of the passing of my friend Julian. Life is so precious and fragile. My condolences to his family. R.I.P. Jules." That's so sad, those movies were such a joy, and to have a little bit of a tragedy, a lot of bit of tragedy mixed in. and see his former co-stars chime in, and it's heartbreaking. But that's part of life, unfortunately. But like I always say, his performances will live on forever, and we can always watch him, and it's a bit of immortality in a way. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I definitely want to cover the 19 not 19 the OG Fantastic Four movies before we see the new one, so we can do it as a little bit of tribute to Julian.
Oh yeah,
to Julian McMahon.
Definitely.
So keep an eye out for that. We'll definitely cover the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies in preparation for the new movie, and like I said, as a tribute. But this wraps up this edition for this week in movie news. All right. Let's get on with the show. So Back to the Future. Whoa. Definitely, would you say it's one of your top 5 movies?
Oh, definitely. 1, 2, and 3.
Which one is your favorite? Now, this is a point of contention against a lot of fans. Like, what would you say?
The first one.
Yeah, I would say the first one definitely. What about what would you rank 2 and 3? Like in order? So you said the first one's number 1, and what would be number 2?
10 out of 10.
No, I mean like what would be in say if you had to put them in like first, second, and third place. So first place you said would be number 1, right? What would be in second place?
Yeah.
What would be your second place one?
Back to the Future 2.
Oh, so they're in order. So you have so number 1 is number 1. So number 2 is second place, and number 3 is third place.
Oh, definitely.
See, that's probably what most fans think. Sometimes I hear that people interchange number 2 with number 1. I would go number 1, number 3, and number 2. I know the surprise. It's shocking. A lot of people think that number 3 is the worst, but I actually enjoyed it a lot. I love the Old West. I would say but when I was a kid, number 2 was my favorite because of all the future shit and all the crazy hoverboards. I loved hoverboards. I always wanted a real one, but they never made one. Damn it! Still to this day, we're a decade, away from 2020. I mean, we're a decade away from 2015, and we still have no hoverboards. What the hell, man? All we have is fascism. But anyway, not to get too off topic. Yeah, but now that I'm older, I appreciate the third one more. I love the love story between Doc and Clara, the great Mary Steenburgen. But that's not to get too much into the sequels. We're here to talk about the very first movie. It came out in 1985. That's 5 years before I was born. 6 years before you were born. It's always been around for us. I've never known a world without Back to the Future. I've kind of just absorbed it through the ether and whatnot. I probably watched it before I even could understand what was going on. And it, like I said, I don't even remember the first time watching it, but it's one of those, as they always describe, a lightning in the bottle movie. The right people came together at the right time to make an amazing movie, and you can't recreate that willingly. It just has to be, happenstance. It's like. It's one of those wonderful things that just comes together at the right time. You can't really recreate that. I think that's why the creators, I don't know if you're aware, but the director Robert Zemeckis and then the co-creator Bob Gale, he also co-wrote the movie. They have it in their contracts that there can be no reboots or no sequels until after they die. So at that point it'll be up to their families whether they want to sell away the rights, but. It's because I feel like, they don't want to tarnish what they made. They made 3, perfect movies. It's a perfect sequel. I mean, a perfect trilogy, excuse me. And then they don't want to tarnish that. It's because, I feel like, so many of these franchises have been done to death. The Ghostbusters, they resurrected Ghostbusters, and it was okay. And so many other franchises have been done to death. But Back to the Future remains untouched, untarnished. I think that's a great.
Yep.
I think that's a great thing.
It's a good thing.
Definitely. Of course, it stars the great Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly. Wonderful documentary about him, by the way. We actually covered it on a previous episode, so we'll go ahead and pop that in the description. We'll link you to that episode. We talked. It's called the episode is called The Fantastic Michael Fox. We talked about his documentary that came out. And I think it was on Apple TV or something like that. But it's a wonderful documentary. Talks about his career from the beginning and how he struggled, and he was living with barely any money until basically he scored Family Ties, and then finally Back to the Future. And it talks about all the hecticness of going between the sets, and of course his struggle with Parkinson's. And it's just a wonderful documentary. They use real footage mixed with a recreation, and they do a bunch of interviews with his family, friends, co-workers, and you name it. And it's just a wonderful look at his life, and the wonderful things that he's done in the midst of tragedy. And of course, we have the wonderful Christopher Lloyd as Dr. Emmett Brown. Don't you love his performance?
Oh, definitely. He is so funny.
And it's so crazy because like the two of them, they were friends in the movie, and then people always joke like, "Why is this teenager friends with this crazy old man?" But like, I don't know. What do you think about that?
It's fun. It's funny.
I think it's fun. I mean, just go with it. I don't need any backstory. I don't know. You just buy it. I think it's because of the chemistry between him and between Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. Would you say?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just fun.
Yeah, they have such like a great chemistry with each other. Like there's no. Tom Wilson has always said that Eric Stoltz really got rough with him, and he would actually like shove him really hard. He was like hurting his collarbones and whatnot. And then so Tom Wilson almost beat the shit out of him because he was hurting him so much. But then luckily he got canned. And because the whole reason why they chose Eric Stoltz is because Michael J. Fox was doing the TV show Family Ties. Have you seen Family Ties?
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
He plays
it's good.
Alex P. Keaton. At first, I think his name Gary David Goldberg, the creator of the show. He wouldn't let Michael. He didn't even let him know that they wanted him for Back to the Future. He wouldn't let him go because he was going to interrupt their hit show. But then finally, after they fired Eric Stoltz, they came back, and then he agreed to strike a deal to let Michael J. Fox be on the movie. And the rest is history, as they say. History is going to change. And of course, you have the lovely Leah Thompson as Lorraine Baines. Amazing performance. And then one of my favorite performances in the movie, Crispin Glover.
He's so funny.
He's so wacky
and shy. He's so shy.
I heard they always call him Crazy Crispin. I didn't know that, but I know Michael J. Fox referred to him as Crazy Crispin on his documentary, and it totally makes sense. He's nuts. I don't know if you've seen that David Letterman interview.
Oh, I have. It's so funny.
He's like he's a nutso. Like he's very eccentric, and he almost kicked David Letterman in the face, and he ended up getting banned from the Letterman show. Yeah, if anyone hasn't seen it, check it out. But he's pretty crazy. There's a whole story with him and the production. Well, we'll get into that in a little bit. But he rounds out this wonderful cast. And there's so many great side actors as well. Of course, you have like Claudia Wells as Jennifer, and then James Tolkien as Principal Strickland. I mean, there's so many great character actors in this, just top to bottom. And of course, you have an early appearance from what's that guy's name? I'm drawing a blank right now, but he was in Titanic.
Oh, Billy Zane.
The great Billy Zane. He plays one of Biff's henchmen. He actually auditioned for Biff, but he didn't get it. But you see him as one of Biff's henchmen. But yeah, like wonderful cast. So the story is about teenager Marty McFly. He just wants to play guitar and sing and whatnot. He wants to smooch on his girlfriend, much as to his mom's chagrin. Like I said, he befriends this crazy, wild-eyed scientist named Doc Brown. And one day he goes over to his lab. He wants to play his giant, massive speaker. I don't know what that's about. What do you think he used that for?
I have no idea. Probably an experiment.
Maybe, probably right. But he goes over to play his massive speaker. He shows up. Doc's not there. He's trying to freak out because he has all these crazy machines. Like there's like a machine that feeds his dog. He left it on, but he's not there. And it's like pouring a bunch of dog food into Einstein's bowl. It just looks gross because it's been sitting in there for days. It probably smells like shit. And but there was a nice bit of exposition though, because it's like a big one shot. It doesn't cut and then sweeps across the Doc's like garage, and it gives a lot of good exposition because you have like it tells you a little bit of what's going on. It has like that newscast about the missing plutonium, which later we see it's underneath Doc's bed. We see a newspaper saying how Doc's mansion burned down. That's why he's living out of his garage. it gives little hints to the story. I love that little foreshadowing we see with the clock. It's like a Harold Lloyd clock of the guy hanging off the hands of the clock. Kind of gives you a little bit insight to what's going to happen in the climax of the movie. And then, of course, we see Marty show up. He's looking around. Doc's not there, so he goes and plays his speaker. But what happens when Marty plays his speaker?
It blows out.
Yeah, that must have been surprising watching it for the first time in the theater. But he goes to play his speaker. He turns up everything to max volume, and he has like the tiniest guitar ever. I think that's. I wonder if they did it on purpose to contrast the giant speaker. He has like this little tiny guitar, and he goes to play it, but it blows him across the room, knocking him into the shelves. Whoa, rock and roll, and then at that point he gets a phone call from the doc. He wants him to show up at the mall at 1:15 in the morning. He's nuts, but of course Marty's a good friend. He agrees to it, but he's still weirded out by it. And then he hears the doc's clocks go off. He's like, "What's that sound I hear? Your clocks are going off." It's He's like, "Oh, my experiment worked. They're all 25 minutes slow." He's like, "Doc, wait a minute. You're telling me that's 8:25? Damn, I'm late for school." I mean, he was barely there though. I heard someone online. They're like, "Dude, you were barely there for like 5 minutes. You can't blame the doc for making you late. You didn't have a watch, like." So, anyways, he's late for school. He's got to leave. We hear the epic Huey Lewis in the News, "Power of Love." Don't you love that song?
Oh yeah, it's so classic.
It holds up, man. And which is funny is they never wanted to do a song for Back to the Future. They had to be convinced, but they told him because I think Huey Lewis said I don't want to do a song called Back to the Future. It's not interesting to me. And they're like, "Well, just give us whatever you have, and then we'll talk about that later." And so they actually, I think Power of Love wasn't even written for Back to the Future. They just had it already in the works, and they were like, we have the song, let's just use it for the movie. And it has nothing to do with the movie itself, but it works on the grander themes of love, which does play a kind of a underline theme throughout the movie. One of the many themes throughout the movie, because you have like the love between Jennifer and Marty, and you have the love, what's his name, George McFly and Lorraine and whatnot. So I think it suits it very well. Anyways, he gets to school late, and of course he's Jennifer meets him there. She's trying to sneak him around so he doesn't get caught by Strickland, played by the great James Tolkien, he's also in Top Gun. You remember him in Top Gun? He's a character. He's been in a lot of movies. But
oh yeah, I remember him.
I remember seeing him in Top Gun. I don't know what movie it is. I keep seeing clips online. You may know what the movie is, but he has to take a shit, and he runs to the bathroom, but then someone throws a cherry bomb in the toilet. And then the cherry bomb explodes while he's sitting bare-assed on the toilet, and then he's I don't know, he gets blown out of the toilet. I don't know what movie that is.
The movie Alec is referring to is Problem Child 2 from 1991.
I don't know, maybe you can find the clip. But anyway, not to get too off topic here. But yeah, so anyway, he finally catches Marty. Him and Jennifer sneaking around, because apparently, if you get 4 tardies in a row, you probably get detention or something. So they thought they were safe, and then he starts explaining, "Oh, this time it wasn't my fault. The doc said his clock's 25 minutes slow," and he overhears them. He's like, "The doc, you still hanging out with that nutcase? If you keep hanging around with him, you're gonna get in big trouble." And Marty gives him some sass, and then Strickland gets all in his face. He's like, "Yeah, you know what, you're a slacker just like your father." And then he's really rude though. I get if Marty's a troublemaker, but he's literally telling him that he's going to amount to nothing, and that he's like, "Oh, I saw you audition for the, to play at the dance. He's on the school roster to play with his band at the dance." He's like, "You're not gonna make it, McFly. You're too much like your old man. No McFly ever mounted to anything in the history of Hill Valley." What an asshole. I can see why he's hated. But Marty comes up with the best comeback, and very poignant too in a movie about time travel. Do you remember what he says?
I guess history's gonna change.
Yeah, I love that. I love that line. So Marty goes to audition for to play at the school dance, and then of course he gets up on stage. He rocks "Power of Love," but unbeknownst to him, he plays just a little too darn loud. Who was one of the judges that decided to nix him?
Huey Lewis.
Huey Lewis himself. He has a little cameo as one of the panelists of judges, and he stands up. He's like, "Hold it, fellas, hold it. I'm afraid you're just too darn loud." Marty is just totally taken aback, and it sets up a great character moment because afterwards he's talking with Jennifer over in the town square, and he's like, maybe I'm just not cut out for this, and I don't know. And then she's telling him, you're great, Marty. Just send in your demo tape. And he's like, I don't know if I could take that kind of rejection, which is perfect. I love that wording because you see it later on in the movie when he goes back in time and meets his dad. He's telling him to ask Lorraine out. He says the same exact thing. He's like, what, right here in the cafeteria? What if she says no? I don't know if I could take that kind of rejection. And it plays into those themes about, he's more similar, to his family than he thinks. Because when you look at when you first meet Marty and his family, you couldn't think they're more polar opposite. Like Marty's cool and collected. George McFly, he's like so goofy. He's such a pushover. But I just like those themes of like, even though on the surface you seem totally different. Like really, the apple doesn't really fall far from the tree. But Jennifer's still trying to encourage him and says that, you're good. You got to send in your stuff. And then Marty's distracted by the 4x4 that pops up. And then he wants that truck. He's talking about, someday, Jennifer, I'm going to get that truck. We're going to drive out to the lake and throw a couple sleeping bags in the back, lie out underneath the stars. And then she brings up, does your mom know that we're going to go to the lake this weekend? And he's like, no, get out of town. My mom thinks I'm going camping. Because apparently his mom is like a super prude. And then she really hates Jennifer, like for no good reason. Like she seems like a nice girl, but she thinks that like girls chasing boys is such a terrible thing. But later we find out that there's no reason why she should be down on it. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Turns out she's not as much of a nun as they think. But anyway, they're about to smooch. They get interrupted by this annoying lady asking for donations. What is she asking donations for?
Save the clock tower.
Exactly, save the clock tower. So apparently the lightning has struck the clock tower back in 1955, and the Hill Valley Preservation Society is actually trying to save the clock the way it is, because Mayor Goldie Wilson wants to replace it with a brand new clock. And even though it's broken, they want to preserve it exactly the way it is as part of their history and heritage. And so, Marty gives her a quarter, and he gets a flyer from her, which plays heavily into the movie later on. And there's so many good setups and payoffs in this movie, and this sets up a big plot point for later on in the movie that's going to save Marty's ass. Anyway, so they resume. They get to smooching, and then of course they're interrupted again by Jennifer's dad. And so, she informs him that she's going to be at her grandma's. So she writes her number on the back of the clock tower flyer, which also probably helped in saving his life, as we'll see in a little bit. Otherwise, he probably would have thrown that flyer away, but he saved it because Jennifer's grandma's number was on the back, and that's the only way he could contact her that night. And so he keeps on to that flyer. And anyway, they part ways. Marty heads back home for the evening. He skateboards back. He's grabbing on. It's such an interesting. I don't know why. I don't know how they came up with that whole skateboarding on the back of the cars thing. I don't know. What do you think about that? It's dangerous.
That's dangerous.
But it's cool. It's cool, man. Marty couldn't be more of a cool guy. Like, I don't know what is it with him and like doing dangerous car stunts. Like, remember in Teen Wolf, he was like surfing on the top of vans and shit. I don't know. But anywho, he's on the way back home, and he gets to his driveway. He sees the car's wrecked. He was planning on taking that car to the lake. He was going to take Jennifer, but I mean, as far as his mom knows, he was going camping with the guys. But he was really going to take Jennifer, and the car's totaled. Turns out Biff, he was the school bully back in the day, and now he's Marty McFly's dad's supervisor, and turns out he borrowed the car. He claims there was a blind spot, but really he was just a drunk bastard. Because there's a funny line in the movie where he's like, "I can't believe you loaned me your car without telling me there was a blind spot. I could have been killed. And then George is like, well, I assume your insurance is going to pay for this. He's like, my insurance? Who's going to pay for this? I spilled beer all over me when the car smashed into me. Who's going to pay my cleaning bill? Oh, okay. You were drunk driving, you jerk. But and then he's over there drinking all of George McFly's light beer, trying to hassle him to do his reports for him. And then, of course, George relents because he's a pushover, and that's a big part of his character at this moment. And then we see his mom, who's a big drunko, drinking a big bottle of vodka, I think, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's drinking a big bottle of vodka during dinner, complaining that, looks like we're going to have to eat this cake ourselves. Uncle Joey didn't make parole again. She made him a celebration cake for when he got out of jail. Apparently her brother is a big jailbird. And then Marty's sister's like, it's a major embarrassment having an uncle in jail. She's like, oh, well, we all make mistakes in life, children. And then, of course, Dave, we see Dave's late for his job at Burger King. And then they get into a conversation about Jennifer because I guess she called, and then Marty's sister's like, oh, I'm not your answering service, but Jennifer called you twice. And then Lorraine's like, oh, it's so terrible. She's, I don't like the idea of girls chasing boys. When I was your age, I never chased a boy or kissed a boy or sat in the parked car with a boy, which is a bunch of bullshit. But anyway. And then she's like, but how am I ever supposed to meet anybody? And that's what the sister says. And then Lorraine's like, it'll just happen like the way I met your father. And then she's like, that's so stupid. Grandpa hit him with the car. So apparently the Lorraine's dad hit George McFly with his car. He fell out of the tree. Later on, we find out he was actually a peeping Tom. He was up in the tree spying on Lorraine. There's a funny line from not to get too ahead of myself, but there's a funny line in the movie when we see Lorraine's dad. He mentions, oh, another kid's jumped in front of my car. I feel like that only implies that there's a lot of kids that go up in that tree to spy on Lorraine, and they end up falling in front of his car as he's driving by. I guess we can assume that there's more than one peeping Tom in that neighborhood. But maybe Lorraine should stop dressing in front of the window. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but close your curtains, miss. But any not to get too off topic here. George is trying to shoo away the subject. He's like, what, Lorraine? What? But I like that scene because she's painting a rosy picture of the time when they first met and how, she when she first met George after he got hit by her dad's car and he was like a little lost puppy. And then they went to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance and they had their first kiss. And she's just very, she's painting this very romantic picture of that moment. And then she's like, and then that's when I realized
that I was going to spend the rest of my life with him.
And then you think that George McFly would want to share in that romantic memory of them, but all he's focused on is watching the honeymooners laughing like a crazy moron. I love that laugh that he does. Was that your George McFly impression?
Oh yeah,
it sounded a little more like Jared Leto Joker, but I'll take it. Yeah, that's definitely Joker. But anyway, not to get too off topic. He would actually make a good Joker. I mean, maybe not that he's older, but I think he would have made a good Joker. He does play a good villain. I think he played a villain in one of the what's that? The Charlie's Angels movies, I think, right? Have you ever seen those movies?
Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah, he was in one of them, I think. Anyway, not to get too off topic. So anyway, later that night we see Marty. After he's fallen asleep, Doc calls him up to go get his camcorder from his garage. He forgot his camcorder. It's very important. He wants to record everything that he's doing. Marty shows up at Twin Pines Mall at 1:15 in the morning. He doesn't see Doc right away. He sees Einstein, the dog. But all of a sudden, there's that epic scene where Doc's truck opens up. And it reveals one of the greatest vehicles in movie history, the DeLorean time machine.
It's awesome. Very awesome.
I like the aesthetic of it because it's very like it reminds me in the same vein of like the the Ghostbusters aesthetic, where it's very like tangible, like used parts, cobbled together by a mad scientist in his basement. I like that it's not really slick and clean. It's very pieced together. It looks real world. It doesn't look like something polished and perfect and futuristic. It looks like something that could be built, in our time. It's very timeless. Do you know why they went with the DeLorean?
No.
It's because they wanted to play that joke in the movie where remember how old man Peabody he thinks it's a spaceship.
Oh yeah.
That's why they chose it, because they thought the DeLorean looked very futuristic, looks like some kind of aircraft. So they wanted it for that gag where the Peabody's family thinks it's a ship from outer space. And especially because it has like those gold wing doors. It's very slick and aluminum, or like stainless steel. It has like that silver, sheen to it. Made it look very spaceship like. So that's the reason why they went it with the DeLorean. And it was such a great choice. I can't imagine the time machine being any other kind of car. So iconic. What are some other iconic movie cars that you can think of?
Oh, Batman.
Oh, the Batmobile. Yeah, I think it's definitely on par. The time machine's definitely on par with the Batmobile. My favorite is the Tim Burton one. What's your favorite Batmobile?
The Tim Burton.
Yeah, definitely. The 1989 Tim Burton Batmobile is my favorite. I love that cockpit that opens up. The Ectomobile is another one. I don't know. What are some other famous movie cars?
Oh,
I know one. The Bluesmobile.
the Bluesmobile.
I remember back in the day we had this magazine called Disney Adventures, and they had a list of famous movie cars. I remember on there one of them was the Ecto. One of them was the I think it was like the Beverly Hillbillies car. I don't know why. I think it was from the Beverly Hillbillies movie, which was okay, but they had that on there. They had the Mirthmobile from Wayne's World. And then what else did they have? I think they had the Flintstones car. That's another famous movie car from the Flintstones movie, which is also all right. Were you a big fan of the Flintstones movie?
Yeah, it was very, very funny. The guest stars, very, very funny. Just so legendary.
Anyway, not to get too off topic here, but definitely the DeLorean I think ranks on the top, right next to the Ectomobile, with like amazingly famous movie cars. Such an iconic thing. We see it roll out of Doc's van, all that smoke and mystery, but that reveal is so epic. I love when you see it roll down the ramp, and then the Doc pops out. Marty, you made it! And he's like, "This is my latest experiment. The one I've been waiting for all my life." And Marty's just so confused. He's like, "What are you wearing, a Devo suit? Like, what's going on? It's a DeLorean." And then he's just so focused on roll tape. He's not going to explain it quite yet. And then so he goes on this whole spiel about, "Hey, I'm Dr. Emma Brown. We're in the parking lot at Twin Pines Mall," which is actually filmed in industry in the Puente Hills Mall, which is not too far from us. Which sadly I think they're going to get rid of it. It's not, the business is, after COVID especially, business is non-existent. Hopefully they save it as some kind of landmark. I hope they don't demo it. That would be sad to see the Puente Hills Mall go. It's such an iconic mall, right?
Yep, it's very iconic.
Man, I hope they don't get rid of it. But anyway, it was filmed at the Puente Hills Mall. So like I said, Doc is going on his whole spiel. He's doing an experiment of some kind. He has Einstein in on the experiment. He hangs a clock that's synchronized to a clock that the Doc has. He hooked up the DeLorean to a remote control, and he's driving the dog around in it. Marty is just so confused. Along with, imagine the audience when they first saw it. I can imagine that they were so confused as well. The Doc's driving the dog around in the DeLorean, and he points it straight at them, and he lets the car rip, and he says his famous line,
"When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit."
And then he revs up the car, And when it gets to a certain speed, he lets the brake go, and it starts heading straight towards him. Marty's nervous. Like, he starts moving out of the way, but the Doc, he pulls him close. He makes sure that the camera's pointed over there. Watch this, watch this. And all of a sudden, the car goes up in a big ball of electrical sparks and flames. It's crazy. I'd love to have watched this the first time in theaters. I would want to know what that feeling is like, because you just don't know what the hell's going on. I heard test audiences were so concerned for the dog. And all of a sudden it goes up in a big ball of flames, and a pair of fire trails shoots underneath Marty and Doc. And Marty is just horrified. He's like, "You disintegrated Einstein." He's like, "Calm down, Marty. I didn't disintegrate anything." So yeah, but I think Michael J. Fox plays it so great, because he's just so freaked out. Like, he's like, Doc's like, don't worry, Einstein in the car completely intact. Then where the hell are they? And he's like, the appropriate question is, when the hell are they? Einstein became the world's first time traveler.
I sent him into the future.
And then he's saying that basically once they reach that minute, they'll meet back up with him again. And then Marty is just, I love the performance from Michael J. Fox. He's just so bewildered. Wait a minute, you're telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean? And then he goes on this whole spiel about why the flux dispersal and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, he's so excited they almost get hit by the returning DeLorean. And then it settles in a big cloud of ice and smoke. And then I just love that look on Christopher Lloyd's face. He's just staring all scared, holding his remote control. And then Doc opens the door and see Einstein is fine. And it kind of lets the audience take a sigh of relief. Then you kind of get what's going on. It's like, okay, so now this is, these are the rules of time travel. This is what's going on, and it gives them some good exposition to kind of clue them in on what's going to happen with Marty in the next few minutes. So Doc's going on explaining time travel to Marty and how he came up with the idea for time travel, and how he was hanging a clock back in 1955. And he was standing on his toilet, and the porcelain was wet, and he slipped and hit his head on the sink, and he had a revelation, a vision of the thing that makes time travel possible, the ultimate MacGuffin, the flux capacitor. Which is I love that name. It's such a cool name, isn't it?
Oh yeah, very, very cool.
I want a replica of the flux capacitor. That'd be so cool to hang up on my wall. The flux capacitor is what makes time travel possible. And that's another bit of key information for the future of the movie. But anyway, he goes to show Marty how it works. He's showing him how to turn the time circuits on, and later on they need to refuel the DeLorean. And Marty finds out that the DeLorean time circuits are fueled by plutonium. And he freaks out. He's like, "You're telling me that this sucker's nuclear?" And he's like, no, the sucker's electrical, but I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts. Oh my gosh, the gigawatts. So Marty's freaking out. He's like, "You can't just buy that in a store. Where did you rip that off?" Apparently, he stole plutonium from some Libyan terrorists who wanted to build him a bomb. So he stole the plutonium and gave him a bomb casing full of used pinball machine parts. He's certifiably insane. I think Strickland was right on that one, but he now has a working time machine. So who's crazy now? So Doc, he's preparing to make his trip into the future, but all of a sudden, who shows up? Bum bum bum. The Libyans.
Holy shit!
And then he's like, I don't know how they found me, but like, dude, you're literally driving around a giant van with your name on the side. Maybe you should be a little more discreet when you antagonize some terrorists. But anyway, the Libyans find him. They start chasing him down, and what happens?
They shoot him.
Yes. They gun down the unfortunate Dr. Brown. Marty is terrified. He tries running away, but he ends up getting cornered too. But luckily, there's a lot of interventions of fate in this movie. And as luck would have it, the gun jams. And they are unable to shoot Marty. Marty jumps into the DeLorean. There's an epic chase going in circles around the parking lot of the Twin Pines Mall. And at one point, they pull out a freaking RPG, and they're about to blast Marty into oblivion. So he decides, he decides to gun it. Unfortunately, as he was shifting around, hitting the, he's shifting the car, his arm was bumping the thing to activate the time circuits. And the last time setting that Doc had it on was November 5th, 1955, the date that he invented time travel. That was the date that he slipped off of his toilet. And so Marty guns it. He's like, the see if you bastards can do 90. So he just guns it down the parking lot. And as fate would have it, the time circuits were on. As soon as he hit 88, he was off to the races. Back to 1955. And there's a funny scene when like instantaneously he ends up in the, as Doc described before, where the mall was at. It was all farmland as far as the eye could see. Old man Peabody owned all of that land, and he said he has this crazy idea about breeding pine trees. So, but Marty, he travels to 1955. He's screaming. He ends up in a field. He ends up crashing into a scarecrow. Ends up crashing into the Peabody's barn. And of course, there's the payoff of the joke I mentioned earlier. The Peabodys are, woken up in the middle of the night. And they go to check out what the hell is going on with their barn, and they see this mysterious thing in their barn. And Mr. Peabody said, "Well, it looks like an airplane without wings." But then the kid shows him that comic book about space aliens, and the spaceship looks exactly like the DeLorean. It's just hilarious. And then, Marty, of course, he's wearing his radiation suit from when they were refilling the DeLorean. So it doesn't help that he looks even more like a freaking space alien coming out of there. So they're all freaking out. They think there's aliens are invading. And, Marty is like, hey, sorry about your barn. And he walks out of there, and then freaking Peabody grabs a shotgun and starts chasing him around. He blows a hole right next to his head. Luckily, he didn't hit him. And then Marty, he goes back into the barn. And then the stupid kid's like, "Oh, look, he's mutated into human form." And then old man Peabody's like,
Take that, you mutated son of a bitch!
and then Marty comes gunning it out of the barn in the DeLorean. And then Peabody's shooting him all the way, and then he ends up crashing into one of his pine trees that he's been breeding. My pine, why you space bastard? You killed my pine. And then Marty drives off. He tries to stop a car, but then there's like that old lady freaking out. Don't stop, Wilbur, drive! What do you think that old lady was so scared of? Like, why was she freaking out?
I have no idea. It was something.
Don't stop, Wilbur, drive! Did she, I don't know. Was there like a lot of like murdering hitchhikers at the time? Or was she just scared of his outfit? I don't know. Why she's freaking out. But Marty's like, what the hell? And then he sees that the DeLorean's out of plutonium. The starter's been acting up, so he can't even drive the car around, which is probably a good idea. You don't want to drive that thing around in 1955. He's going to cause a lot of unwanted attention, so he pushes it behind the sign for the new Lion Estates development. He hides it there. He walks into town. Everything's totally different. Like back in 1985, everything was kind of run down. The clock tower, it wasn't a courthouse. It was like a social services building. There's graffiti everywhere. There was a freaking porno theater in the Times Square, not Times Square, in the courthouse square. It was kind of gritty and dirty 80s, And then we see 1955. It's very idealistic, little town in California. Everything's clean. Everything, there's freaking guys pumping your gas for you. It's very, very quaint. He goes over to the cafe. Where in his time it was the aerobics studio. I remember when he was riding by on a skateboard. He's like waving to all the ladies. And then now it's in 1955. It used to be a little cafe. That's when he gets like the page out of the phone book, and he finds Doc's address. He's like, "Good, you're still alive." He's trying to ask Lou, who owns the cafe, Lou's Cafe, and then he's like, "Are you gonna order something, kid?" And so he tries to. I love the little disconnects between time, because obviously he's going to order stuff that he knows from his time, like Pepsi. What does he order? He wants a tab at first. Do you remember what he says?
I can't order something until you.
Oh yeah. He's like,
get something.
Oh yeah. He's like, I can't give you a tab unless you order something, kid. He's like, well, just give me a Pepsi free. So for people who don't know, that a Pepsi free, I guess it was a type of Pepsi back then that it was free of sugar. So it was the brands like like Coke Zero, Pepsi free is sugar free, and so he was like, I want to just give me a Pepsi free, and then Lou mistook it as him saying that he wanted a free Pepsi. So he's like, you want a Pepsi, pal? You got to pay for it. And he's like, all right, just give me something without any sugar. And so he gives him a black coffee. And then little does he know, he's sitting next to his dad. We see a younger version of Crispin Glover playing George McFly. They did such a great job with the old age makeup when they were in 1985. It looked very good, didn't it?
Oh yeah, very good.
When I was little, I always wondered, like, how did they make them look younger? But it's the other way around. They spent time putting makeup on to make them look older. But yeah, anyway, so we see a younger version. He's sitting next to a younger version of his dad, George McFly. But he doesn't notice quite yet. And then all of a sudden Biff walks in the door. Hey, McFly. And he turns to him. He's like, oh my God, Biff. And he's like, hey, I'm talking to you, McFly, you Irish bug. And then he realizes that he's talking to George McFly. And he just totally out of his mind, like just tripping, because he sees everybody that he knows. He knows Biff, he knows his dad, but they're young and they're skinny, and then they're just totally like they're his age, and he can't comprehend. And then of course Biff's acting a jerk. He instead of him wanting to do his reports like he did in 1985, he's wanting him to do his homework for him. And then he gives that similar spiel. In 1985, he's like, hello, you want me to hand in my reports with your handwriting? I'm gonna get fired. And then in 1955, he's like, yeah, you wanted me to hand in my homework with your handwriting? I'm going to get kicked out of school. And then, he's just as much of a pushover as he was, in 1985 as he was in 1955. And Biff takes off with his cronies. I think that scene is so well done. And then he just so like freaked out that he's sitting next to his younger version of his dad that he's staring at him. And then George McFly's like, what? He's like, you're George McFly. He's like, yeah, who are you? And then all of a sudden he sees a younger version of the mayor, Goldie Wilson, when he was working at the Lou's Cafe. He's like, hey, he's giving George advice. Why don't you stand tall, boy? Have some respect. Stop letting those guys push you around. He's like, you think I'm going to be working here the rest of my life? And then Marty's like, hey.
That's right, he's going to be mayor.
It's like,
Mayor!
Mayor!
That's a good idea. Before he knows it, his dad takes off. He goes chasing after his dad, and that's the moment when George ends up in the tree peeping at Lorraine. He ends up falling out, and it's a knee-jerk reaction. Marty goes to save him, but he doesn't realize he's interrupting the meeting between his mom and his dad. He pushes George out of the way of Lorraine's dad's car, and he ends up being hit by the car, and which is unfortunate because he gets knocked out. And guess where he wakes up? In Lorraine's bedroom. Just like George did back in the original timeline, Marty is now the subject of Lorraine's interest. But the problem with that is that that's his mom. It's your mom, dude. That was a reason why Disney didn't end up distributing this movie. Did you know that?
Oh yeah, I knew about it, but it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's the funny part, because like originally they were shopping this movie around. Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale, they were trying to pitch this movie to different studios, and a lot of studios back in 1984, probably earlier, they were looking for more raunchier comedies, which that was what people were doing at the time. They're putting out stuff like Porky's and whatnot, and they're like, no, it's not raunchy enough. We want something more adult comedy. And then they marketed it to Disney, and they're like, no, this is too obscene. The mom is trying to sleep with the son. Like, we don't want this. That's not family friendly. That's not Disney. Like, get the shit out of here.
You make me sick.
All these years later, it's on Disney Plus. What do you know? So now the big problem is that Marty's mom is in love with him. He wakes up in her bed with his pants off. I don't know. Lord knows what she was doing with Marty while he was knocked out. I don't want to think about that. This is crazy. But anyway, she removed his pants. She's enamored by his purple underwear and the fact that he has Calvin Klein written on his underwear. She thinks his name is Calvin Klein. So that's a running gag throughout the movie. But of course, he's Marty. And she's just totally obsessed with him. He ends up meeting, her family, which obviously is his extended family. The funny thing is that he sees Uncle Joey when he's a baby. They make the joke. Obviously, he's a jailbird in the future. And then in the past as a baby. He's obsessed with being in his crib. He cries every time they take him out of his playpen. And then Marty makes a joke. Hey, you better get used to these bars, kid. And Marty, he just asking questions. He wants to find all he's focused on is finding Doc. He's asking for Riverside Drive, but it turns out back then it was called back in 1985 it's called John F. Kennedy Drive, so he didn't know. And then Marty's like, hey, as Lorraine's dad is describing the location of Riverside Drive, Marty's like, hey, that's John F. Kennedy Drive. Who the hell is John F. Kennedy? But then Lorraine is trying to convince Marty to stay over the night because she's wanting him, and then she ends up saying like, oh, she ends up offering Marty to sleep in her room, and he gets freaked out because she grabs his leg. He's like, I gotta go. You're wonderful. You're all great. I'll see y'all later. He wants nothing to do with that. He's freaked out that his mom's grabbing his leg. Anyway, so he's headed off to visit Doc. Yeah, and then finally he meets up at Doc's house, and Doc's doing that crazy experiment with the head thing, trying to read his mind and whatnot, but it doesn't work at all. And then Marty's like, no, I'm not a Coast Guard. I'm here from the future. I came here in a time machine you invented. I need your help getting back to 1985. And then Doc doesn't believe him. He's trying to he's trying to convince him, okay, if you're from the future, who's president of the United States in 1985?
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan, the actor? He's like, who's vice president? Jerry Lewis? And then Marty's trying to convince him, but then he uses that story of how he told him how he invented the flux capacitor. He slipped off his toilet, and that's when Doc finally realizes, oh shit, this guy's telling the truth. I never told anyone that story. It just happened today. And so that's when he knows he's right. So Marty takes him to the place where he hid the flux capacitor, and then he shows him the working flux capacitor, and Doc's freaking out. He's like, it works! I finally invent something that works, because apparently all of his inventions are duds. And he's like, we gotta get you home. So they bring back the DeLorean to his shop, and that's when he sees the video of himself explaining everything, and he finds out that the DeLorean, in order to get it running again, they need 1.21 gigawatts of electricity.
1.21 gigawatts!
And then he has that epic freak out. 1.21 gigawatts! And then he runs away. And like Marty's like, what the hell is a gigawatt? And he's like, I'm sorry, Marty, I can't send you home. There's no way I can generate that kind of power. He's like, all we need is some plutonium. But he's like, no, it may be. I like that line where he's like, it may be available in every corner drugstore, but in 1955, it's a little hard to come by. But he's like, you're just stuck here, man. And Marty's freaking out. But then, what comes into play? How did they find out about the lightning?
Oh, the clock tower?
Yep. Remember, he has the flyer. He got the flyer from the clock tower lady that tried cockblocking him earlier. But it turns out it came. It turns out it came to be useful because Doc was like, the only way I can generate that kind of power is through a lightning bolt. And he's like, but we don't know when or where they're ever going to strike. I mean, then Marty's like, we do now, and he hands him the flyer, and it's such an epic scene. Everything just culminates in that moment, and he's like, this is it. This is the answer. With the lightning bolt, if we could get that lightning to go into the flux capacitor, we could send you home. Next Saturday night, we're sending you back to the future. And he says the line of the movie. I love that. And he's like, okay, Saturday's good. I can hang out in 1955 for a week, and I can hang out. You could show me around. He's like, no. He's like, you can't see anything or talk to anybody. You could have repercussions on the future. And he's like, did you see anyone else today besides me? And he tells him like, oh yeah, well, I bumped into my parents. And then earlier he had shown him a picture of him and his siblings to prove that he was from the future, because his sister's sweater says class of 1984. And then earlier they noticed, Doc had noticed that his hair was cut off. And then he's like, oh, let me see that photograph again of your brother. And it turns out that his brother's fading away from the photo. And then it introduces that cool ticking clock element to the movie, because now they have not only do they have to get him back to the future, they have to get his parents back together before him and his siblings are erased from existence. So everything just set up so perfectly. I love that race against time. There's those great moments where he goes, he's trying to get his dad to speak with Lorraine, but he's so awkward. I love that line at the high school where Doc's like, maybe you were adopted, because George is so goofy and Marty's so calm and collected and cool, And then, but every time he tries to get him and Lorraine together, something bad happens, or she's so focused on Marty and so infatuated with him, and then Marty's just freaking out, like, "Are you telling me my mother's has got the hots for me?" He's just so grossed out. Like, he just like every turn he tries to get George, with Lorraine, something bad happens. Biff shows up. Of course, there's that scene at the diner where he tries to get. He remember he had went over to George's house at nighttime because he was just so set in his ways. Like, I'm not going to ask Lorraine out, and not you or anyone else on this planet is going to ever change my mind. And so he goes dressed up as a space alien because he knows that he's into sci-fi. And he finds out that his dad is actually into writing like sci-fi novels. And he's like, "I didn't know you did anything creative." And that's another cool part. Like, that's part of the human story that I was talking about, where it's like he didn't know that his dad was creative like he was. Like, even though it's not music, his dad's into writing instead of music. It's still like, something creative that his dad likes to do. He never knew he liked to do stuff like that. And his dad was afraid to share his work because he didn't know if people would like it. Just like Marty was afraid to share his musical talents because he was afraid of rejection. So it's like they're very similar, even though they're very different. And I think that's the key heart of Back to the Future, is finding out things you never knew about your past and your lineage and connecting to the past. And I think those are some of the best parts of the movie. But yeah, I love those scenes where he's trying to get, him and his mom, his dad and his mom back together. Of course, Biff, like I said, he always gets in the way. They get into that fight in the cafeteria. And then there's that scene in the diner after he, so like I was saying, he dresses up as a space alien, shows up at George's house at night to try and convince him to ask out Lorraine. So what was the character that he dressed up as?
Darth Vader.
"I'm an extraterrestrial from the planet
Vulcan."
I like how he just combined Star Wars, Star Trek. It's not like George is gonna know the difference. And so he's dressed up in his like radiation suit, trying to scare the shit out of George. He comes over to Marty the next day. Apparently he didn't go to school because he overslept. In a cut scene, it was actually because Marty chloroformed George, and he gave him too much chloroform, and that's why he woke up late. But they ended up cutting that out of the movie. And turns out George just showed up late because he overslept because he was so spooked by Darth Vader. He said that he was going to melt his brain if he didn't ask Lorraine out. So he went over frantically to ask Lorraine, and so Marty was giving him some tips of what to say because he had no idea what to say. And then Marty's like, "Jesus, George, I was wondering how I was even ever born." But he gives him some tips on what to say, and that's when he gives him his famous line when he walks into the cafe. He's talking to Lorraine. "My density has popped me to you. I'm George McFly. I'm your density. I mean, your destiny." He's just so awkward. I love it. Perfect performance by Crispin. I think it has to be my favorite performance. He goes in to tell Lorraine that he loves her, ask her out, and of course Biff shows up again and fucks up everything. He's telling George, "Hey, I told you not to come in here. It's going to cost you." And then so Marty trips Biff. Biff gets pissed, and then he gets intimidated by how tall Biff is. So he tricks Biff, and which he does throughout the trilogy. They reuse this gag, but he's like, "Hey, Biff, what's that?" And Biff turns around, he sucker punches Biff, shoves him into his cronies, and he runs away. And then Lorraine just gets even more infatuated with her own son. She's like, "Oh my God, Calvin Klein's a dream." And then he goes running away. The famous skateboard chase around the courthouse square. Marty basically invents skateboarding. He sees a kid on a makeshift scooter. He rips off the scooter handles, and he just uses the board part with the wheels, and he goes skateboarding around. Everyone's freaking out. What is he on? It's a board with wheels. So Marty invented skateboarding, and then later on, we'll see he invents a few more things. But he's going riding around, and then Biff, he's such a villain, man. Like it's one thing like you want to beat the shit out of him, but like literally he's chasing him down in his car, and he was going to crush him in between a manure truck. It's like, damn, he's out to commit murder. Not only is that, later on we see he's a rapist, but we'll get into that when we get there. Biff's a true villain, right?
Oh yeah,
he's awful, man, and he only gets worse. But anyway, so he's chasing him around. He's about to crush him in between manure truck. And then Marty does the coolest move ever. He jumps off his board, hops onto the car, walks through the seating area, hops off the back, lands right on perfectly onto his skateboard, and then the guys roll on, smash into the manure truck. Biff and his cronies get covered in cow shit. And then I love that scene where Goldie Wilson runs over from the cafe, and he gets a whiff. And he's like, "Woo!"
That is one big pile of shit.
And Biff's just over there covered in shit. I'm gonna get that son of a bitch. And then, of course, Lorraine is even more attracted to her own son now. And Marty meets up with Doc back at his lab, and he's over there obsessed watching the video of himself from the future that Marty filmed earlier. And then Marty's like, "I got to tell you about the future," because he wants to warn him that he's going to get shot. But Doc's like, "I'm not having any of this. No, I don't want you to ruin my future like you endangered yours. I shouldn't know too much about my own destiny." But Marty's like, "I got to tell him he's going to die. Like, I need to save his life." But of course, Doc is very steadfast about, "I don't want to know too much about my own destiny." And so anyway, he shows him his plan for sending him home. He builds like a little model. And then Lorraine shows up. She asks him out to the dance. And just after Marty told Doc that, he got everything sorted out. Turns out everything's not sorted out. His mom still is in love with her son. And she wants to go to the dance with him. So the new plan, change of plans, Marty's going to go to the dance with his mom. And apparently he's going to get frisky with her to the point where she's going to get annoyed with him. And then he's going to have his dad come in and save the day and beat him up, or at least pretend to beat him up, so that way she becomes infatuated with George. It's a very risky move, but he attempts it anyway. So he takes Lorraine out to the dance, and he's like, "Oh, do you mind if we park?" No, knowing that Lorraine, his mom in the future, is very much a prude, and she's like, Marty, I love to park." And he's like, so taken aback. He's like, "What?" And she's like, "I'm almost 18. It's like I never parked with a boy before." And he's like totally freaking out because it's like, this is not the mom that he knows. Like, she's always like, "Boy, girls are evil, and girls chasing boys is awful." But then here she is like, "Oh, I've parked with many boys before." He's like, "Oh my God." And then he goes, and he finds out a bunch of other shit about her. Like, she's like over there underage, drinking, smoking. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, you shouldn't drink. You're going to regret it. Like, what are you, a square? Everyone who's anybody drinks." And then he takes a sip and he spits it out. "Jesus, you smoke too?" And she's like, "Marty, you're beginning to sound just like my mother." And then finally, like, he's nervous because, like, he doesn't want to get frisky with his mom. That's disgusting. But, he's going to have to do it to try and set the timeline right. So he's like nervous, and she knows he's nervous. And she's like, "What's wrong, Marty? Why are you so nervous?" And he's like, have you ever had to do something, but you're not sure how to do it? And she's like, "Oh yeah, like on a first date." And then she's like, you know what I do in those situations? I don't worry." And then she plants a big old kiss on her own son's lips. He's totally, I love that face that he does. He just like curls up in a ball and he's like freaked out. And he just like the look of sheer terror on his face. And even Lorraine picks up on that something's wrong. She's like, "I don't know what it is, but when I kiss you, it's like I'm kissing my brother." And she's like, "I don't know if that makes sense." And he's like, "Believe me, it makes perfect sense." He's just like, "Ugh." And then turns out he thinks, I love that bait and switch. He thinks that George is coming to save the day like they originally had planned. But then Biff shows up because he's looking for him because he caused all that damage to his car when he crashed into that manure truck. So he's like, "You caused $300 damage to my car, you son of a bitch. Now I'm going to take it out of your ass." And then so he gets his goonies to beat up Marty and throw him in the back of the trunk of the band that's playing that night, Marvin Berry and the Starlighters. And then freaking Biff goes full sexual assault. He's such a gross dude, man. I mean, and Tom Wilson, he couldn't be a nicer guy in real life. Like, they couldn't have picked a more nice guy to play such a skis, but he does it very well. He's a good actor and very believable. And then he decides that he's going to get handsy with Lorraine, even though she's begging him to stop. and then it sets up the scene perfectly because George is still expecting Marty to be in the car with his mom. Well, he doesn't know it's his mom, but he's expecting Marty to be in the car with Lorraine. The whole plan was that he's going to fake beat up Marty. He goes to the car thinking that Marty is in there, getting handsy with Lorraine, and it turns out that he goes to scold Marty, and it turns out Biff's in there, and it totally sets him aback because obviously Biff is his big nemesis. He's terrified of Biff. But then he starts to gain a little bit of backbone, a little bit of courage. This is where it sets up the big story arc. I feel like the story is more about George McFly than it is about Marty, right?
Oh, definitely.
Because that's where we see the biggest change. Of course, Marty, obviously, he's inciting a lot of these events that are going on in the movie. But I feel like the story really belongs to George McFly and his, and then him coming into his own, learning to kind of stop all this generational baggage that's happening. And once he kind of corrects his life, everything else falls into place. And, it's like he sets his family up for a better life. But we'll get into that in a bit. But he starts to get a little courage. No, Biff, you leave her alone. And he's like, all right, McFly, you're asking for it. Now you're going to get it. And then George tries to stop him, but then Biff grabs his arm. He's bending his arm. Lorraine's freaking out, and Lorraine feels bad, so she's telling Biff to leave him alone. And then Biff shoves her onto the ground, and then George, he loves Lorraine. He's infatuated with her, and he sees her fall, to the ground, and then it just enrages him so much. I love that scene. You see the rage build up in his eyes, and then this is where Crispin Glover does the best. You can see he's just staring at her, Lorraine on the ground, staring at Biff, laughing at her, and just that rage builds up and starts. The scene's so great, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's very good.
He plays it so well, and that rage building up in his eyes, and then just you see his fists starting to clench. They cut to his fist, and then he gives such a wonderful emotional performance there. It really gets you tearing up a little bit. Especially when that release, all of a sudden Biff turns around and he just socks him in the face. Biff does that 360 spin onto the car. He passes out, and then just that look of sheer release on George's face. He's just terrified, and he's almost on the verge of tears, and he's just shaking. And he looks at Lorraine, and he just kind of takes a deep breath. He's like, "Are you okay?" I mean, it's such a wonderful moment, and that's one of my favorite moments of this whole movie. Such great. It gives me chills, And then finally, he takes her to the dance, and the problem is Marty is now locked inside of Marvin Berry's trunk, and the Marvin Berry and the Starlighters confront Biff's gang and then chase him away. But in trying to get Marty out of the trunk, Marvin Berry cuts his hand on a screwdriver. And they're able to get Marty out, but now he can't play. But who can play guitar? Who can play guitar?
Marty
can play guitar. So he's like, you guys got to finish the dance. Hey, Marvin can't play with his hand like that, and we can't play without him. And he's like, you can't. You gotta play because this is where they kiss for the first time. And if they can't kiss, or if they can't dance, they can't kiss. Oh my God, I can't speak today. He's like, if they can't dance, they can't kiss. If they can't kiss, they can't fall in love. And I'm history. He's like, I'm sorry, man, the dance is over unless you know someone else who can play. And then I love they cut to him awkwardly playing Earth Angel. And he just sitting there terrified because it's his life, his whole, his whole existence is still on the line. But he's there playing Earth Angel, watching over his parents, trying to make sure that they get together, make sure they have that first kiss. And George is still awkward, even though he successfully knocked out Biff. He still hasn't kind of passed that hurdle of awkwardness. But then finally, there's this goofball Ginger that shows up and tries to cut in with Lorraine. He's the last obstacle before George makes the shift into total badass. And the same redhead is that guy from The Burbs. You know what I'm talking about? He's
oh yeah,
Hans
Hans
Klopek.
Pretty girl. Friend of yours?
No, it came with the frame.
It came with the frame?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It came with the frame. He's such a goofball. But yeah,
Shit, that was him.
that's him. So he starts cutting. Scram McFly, I'm cutting in. And then George kind of like he relents and he's like looks nervous. He walks away, and then she's screaming, for George, George, George. And then even Marty, he's like starting to fade away. He's like doubling over in pain because he's starting to fade away. George, and his hands disappearing and everything. And it's just like, oh my God, all that tension, the building, the swelling of the music. You hear Earth Angel starting to fade away, and it's just so, like, you think everything's just done at that moment. And all of a sudden, George comes back. Excuse me. And then this has got to be one of my favorite moments next to the clock tower sequence. Like, it's just perfection. Because then you have the moment where he takes Hans Klopek, he shoves him to the floor, and then he grabs Lorraine, and the music swells. You have that wonderful score by the great Alan Silvestri, one of the biggest orchestras for a movie at the time. They've got that really old school Hollywood feel. I mean, he's done some other great stuff too. He worked on Roger Rabbit, Predator. He did the Avengers theme song, but I mean, this Back to the Future score takes the cake. You have the music starts to swell, dun, 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 and then it cuts out, and you just hear Marvin Berry, the love and your happiness, whoa, and then he kisses Lorraine. They kind of linger just right before the kiss, just for a second. They kind of hold on it, and all of a sudden he kisses her. And all of a sudden everything just snaps into place. Earth Angel. Marty stands up, and then he gains his energy back. He's on his feet again. He's playing. All his siblings on the photograph fade back into existence. And then just the music, it's such an amazing. That's like my favorite part of the movie right there. That's the movie right there, and everything's back to normal. And then he gives. I love how George McFly over there from the audience, he gives a wave to Marty on stage, and then Marty waves and he looks at his hand to double check that he's not fading away, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant, just exciting. That's definitely one of the greatest cinematic moments in history. And of course, Marvin Berry is so stoked that he just like, let's do another one. He's like, no, I'm sorry, I gotta go. He's got to make the lightning bolt at the clock tower, but he's like, come on, man, let's do something that really cooks. But he convinces Marty, because Marty, this is his chance. This is his redemption. Like he didn't get to play at his school dance, but now he gets to play at his parents' school dance. So this is coming full circle here. Another payoff in the movie, but it's great. He's like, okay. Then he gets the idea to play Johnny Be Good, which is such an interesting choice for a movie, just to stop and play a song. But it works so well. It's just so fun. And you give Marty his moment in the sun. And so he's like, okay, guys, this is an oldie. But then he catches himself because it's like the song, doesn't even exist yet, I think, at this point. He's like, well, this is an oldie where I come from. So he starts directing the band. Okay, guys, this is a blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay? And he starts riffing off into Johnny Be Good. And then I like how they have, turns out Marvin Berry is related to Chuck Berry. And so he goes and calls up his cousin. Hey, Chuck, it's your cousin, Marvin Berry. Remember that new sound you're looking for? Well, listen to this. And so they're saying that Marty essentially invented rock and roll. But really, it's kind of a loop, because Chuck Berry invented Johnny Be Good, and then Marty heard it, and he kind of took it back to the past, and it's like kind of like a feedback loop of invention. But I thought that was funny. He's over there doing his wild dances on stage. Eventually, he takes it too far, and he starts doing all kinds of crazy moves and imitating Hendrix and the Who, and he starts doing some Van Halen shit, and then it's a little too much for the 1950s crowd, and all of a sudden everyone's just staring at him like he's got lobsters crawling out of his ears. And eventually he ends up doing a power slide on stage. He opens his eyes, and everyone's just dead silent, because they're like, what the fuck was that shit? Like,
what?
Yeah, they were just like so not ready for that yet, but their kids are gonna love it. But yeah, I thought that was a great scene. And so finally he's done with that. He's leaving, and then he sees his parents for the last time. And they're like, they're just basically saying their goodbyes, because he's like, I gotta go. His dad's like, oh, thanks for all the great advice. I'll never forget it. And Marty's mom's asking, hey, will we ever see you again? He's like, I guarantee it. And then I love his last little piece of advice. Do you remember what he tells him just before he leaves?
If your 8-year-old son sets a couch on fire, don't Go easy on him.
It's close, but close. Yeah, he's like, if you guys ever have children and one of them accidentally sets fire to the living room rug, go easy on him. And like, we will. And then she's like, Marty, such a nice name. Although I thought that was weird because, like, if she thought Marty was a nice name, why'd she wait till her second son, or to name a kid Marty? She waits till her last kid to name. So you think she would have? That'd been funny if he went back to 1985 and his brother Dave was named Marty all of a sudden, and he's Dave. That'd been funny. But I wonder why she waited. And then everyone's always joking, like, doesn't George ever notice that, like, he looks like the guy that helped get him together back in 1955? Like, he's not suspicious at all. They did a joke about that on Family Guy, where George is.
Oh, that's right. I saw it. It was hilarious.
Yeah, where George is like, you wouldn't have happened to met up with Calvin Klein at any point, and maybe had a son with him. He's like, don't tell me that he doesn't look exactly like Calvin Klein. And then he runs into the room. Mom, Dad, I set fire to the living room rug. And he's like, I'm not going easy on him. And he goes to chase him with his belt. I thought that was pretty funny. But I mean, it's like, there's no way they're going to remember what some guy looked like for a week back in 1955. So it's like, it's not a plot hole like many people think it is. Not to get too off topic here. So he's rushing off back to Doc. He's got to go, back into the future. He's got to go, catch the lightning bolt at the clock tower exactly 10:04. So he goes. Earlier, before he went to the dance, he wrote a letter warning Doc that he's going to get shot. So he left it in Doc's pocket. He goes to meet up with Doc. He's worried because he's late, but he's explaining everything that he's going to do. He set the time. As long as he hits the lightning bolt, at the precise moment, everything's going to be fine. They're hugging because he's going to send him off, and he's telling him that he's going to miss him. It's going to be hard waiting 30 years. And then as they're hugging, Doc notices the letter in his pocket. What's the meaning of this? You find out in 30 years. No, it's about the future, isn't it? I warned you about this. And he rips up the letter. Marty's freaking out. Okay, he's like, how am I going to tell him now? And then all of a sudden, in the midst of their arguing, the connectors that are supposed to guide the lightning to the DeLorean, they fall off. It's this whole big mess. I love that. It's the big tension that they have in the very climax of the movie. All the connectors fall off, and then he's freaking out. He's trying to reconnect the connectors. He's telling Marty, "You've got less than 4 minutes. Please hurry. Just go." And Marty's trying to tell him, but he's like, "You got no time. Just go. Please hurry." And then Marty rushes off. He's getting in the DeLorean. There's a clock that the Doc set in the DeLorean telling him when to go, but it goes off. But then the starter's acting up again. It's so much craziness going on. And then he's trying to start the DeLorean. He's like, "Geez, come on!" And finally, he hits his head on the dashboard, and then all of a sudden the car starts up magically, and then everything's just so serendipitous, and there's such, I don't know, the timing of these sequences are just so perfect to induce madness and excitement, and I don't know, just the editing and I don't know, everything is just perfect. The pacing, it's just magical. And so finally, he gets the DeLorean running again. Doc's trying to hook up everything. He pulls the cord. He gets one cord connected, but then it pulls out another cord, and Marty's racing towards the clock tower as fast as he can, trying to make up for lost time. And finally, he sees Marty on the way. The only way that Doc can get down fast enough to reconnect the connectors that are strung across the light poles is that he creates like a zip line from the clock the clock tower hands down to the ground, and he zip lines down. I love the music swelling. And he's like zips down all the way to the ground, falls on the ground, and Marty sees him. He's like, "Doc." He looks and he hits 88, and that moment that culminates in another perfect moment in the movie when Doc, he connects the last two connectors right at the exact moment, and he gets zapped, and then his hair's flailing wildly around, and man, it's just movie magic, pure movie magic at that point. And then Marty hits the lightning bolt, bam, he's off to the future. And then just that moment of everything, just a big release, and then it just goes quiet. And then all the crazy music and the storm and everything just subsides. All you hear is a little bit of electricity flickering, and then you hear the flames from the light. The light poles are on fire, and then Doc running, echoing through the empty night, and him screaming in joy. It's great. It's just total perfection. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, I would definitely agree. It's just so fun.
Yeah, definitely. I wish I could have gone to the Fan Fest in Universal Studios. They recreated the 1955 set from Back to the Future, and then they even had the fire trails and everything like that. They had actors reenacting scenes from Back to the Future. I wasn't able to make it. Hopefully they do it again another year, but that would have been fun to relive. And they even recreated the lightning strike at the clock tower. That would have been fun. But Marty ends up back in 1985. I think he crashes into the porno theater, and he backs out, and he's happy to be there. He's looking at everything. Oh, everything looks great. He even sees the bum, Red. He's on the bench. He's like, crazy drunk drivers. And he's even happy to see the bum on the street. Everyone thinks that the guy, the bum Red, is Red Thomas, the old mayor from 1955. But Red Thomas has got to be dead by now. I think it's just a coincidence that his name is Red, because from what I've heard, Michael J. Fox, he just came up with the name Red on the spot. He didn't. It was kind of an ad lib, so it wasn't intended that Red the bum is former Mayor Red Thomas. It's two totally different guys. So to get that theory out of your head, guys. Anyway, he's happy to be back. So his whole solution to Doc ripping up the letters that he was going to travel back a few minutes early so he could stop Doc from being shot by the Libyans. But of course, luck would have it, the car's not starting again. He has to ditch the DeLorean, run over to the Twin Pines Mall. He makes it there just at the wrong time. He sees Doc get shot again by the Libyans, and then he sees himself, like a mirror image of himself, from right before he traveled back to 1955, getting in the chase with the Libyans. I love that kind of tail end. Meeting back up with that moment in the movie and seeing that kind of loop around. And then you see him travel back to 1955. The Libyans crash into the photo booth, and who knows what happens to them. I don't know. The crash wasn't bad enough for them to die. I wonder what happened to the Libyans. Where did they go?
They disappeared.
Did they just give up, or
They did. They must have.
Like they just decide, oh well, I think it looked like Marty blew up. And they don't know who Marty is, but like the kid in the car blew up, and we shot Doc. So let's just pack up and go home, I guess. And did the cops ever show up? I mean, Jesus.
I don't think.
It's such a. You think someone had been alerted? Like, there's shit blowing up in the parking lot at the local mall. Maybe we should check on it, guys. But nothing. I don't know. Nothing ever became of it. So Doc is laying there dead. Marty rushes down to check on him. He's devastated that he wasn't able to save him. But then, as he's sitting there bewildered, you see Doc sit up. And actually, at first, you see him blink, and then you hear that little tinkle from the floor. And then he sits up, and then Marty turns around in shock. He's like, "Doc, you're alive." And then he's like, and then he opens up his shirt. He has a bulletproof vest. He's like, "Bulletproof vest? How did you know?" And then he shows him the letter. He's like, "I never got a chance to tell you." And then he looks at the letter. It turns out that he saved the letter that Marty gave him, and he taped it back together. And he's like, "What about all that talk about screwing up future events, space-time continuum?" Do you remember what he says?
I figured, and what the hell?
Yeah. He's just like, "What the hell?" I feel like that sets a precedent for part 2 because, obviously his character is very much like, "No, you're going to destroy your own destiny. I don't want to know anything." But then I feel like having, been able to save his own life by learning about his future, I feel like that set up the Doc for part 2, because now he seemed to have been more open to learning about the future. He wanted to save Marty's kids. I feel like that makes kind of sense, because at first I'm like, well, isn't he against learning about the future, changing things and stuff like that? But then I feel like since it worked out with him, he's like, maybe we can change stuff in the future. I mean, it's not, none of this is substantiated, but I think it's good headcanon, because it's like, oh, well, it worked out for me. Maybe I can save Marty's family and blah, blah, blah. Almost as a form of payback, maybe. Then with the whole thing with the almanac happened, then he learned that, okay, I was right. This is a total mistake. Let's destroy this time machine. But I almost feel like that sets a good precedent. The whole gag of like, oh, I figured, what the hell. And so Marty drives, Doc drives Marty back to his house, and he lets him know, I'm going to go 30 years into the future. I'll look you up when I get there. So he takes off to the future, and then Marty goes home. He wakes up the next morning. Everything's changed. Everything's changed except for him. It seems like that the rules of this movie that time travelers are exempt from the effects of the ripple effect, because Marty is the same old Marty, but then everything's like their house. They live in the same house, but they have upgraded furniture. Everything's a little nicer. They're no longer drinking light beer. They're drinking Miller High Life. Marty's brother Dave has an office job instead of working at Burger King. Linda, his sister, she's getting dates left and right. The mom doesn't drink or smoke, and she's looking fit and healthy. And George McFly is not a pushover. He's actually a successful writer now. He has his first novel coming out. And Biff is a little bitch waxing George McFly's car. Now, Biff, I told you to put 2 coats of wax this time, not just 1. I thought that was hilarious. And then there's a little point of that. This is where the point of contention comes with Crispin Glover and the team who made the movie, because he thought there shouldn't have been a financial gain for the McFlys at the end of the movie. He's like, that sends a bad message, not a massage. It sends a bad message to the audience, because it's saying that, oh, money brings you happiness. But I don't think that's the point at all. Did you get that vibe from the movie?
Oh yeah.
So you thought the message was money buys you happiness?
Oh, kind of. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't really get that vibe. I thought it was more about, it wasn't so much about, oh, their financial gains brought them happiness. I felt like it was that George was able to overcome, his own hang-ups, and being more confident brought him happiness. And because they had more joy in their lives, that's what brought him happiness. And then the joy and the confidence resulted in them at the end having more money, but that's not what brought them joy. It was just a secondary result. That's the way I saw it. But Crispin Glover had an issue with that, and they told him, screw off. You don't have any say so. But anyway, I like the ending that they have. And then and Marty, at the end, he gets the truck that he wanted, and he goes, he's going to take off with Jennifer in the truck. They're going to take the new truck for a spin. But of course, Doc ends up showing up at the end. And then this ending where Doc shows up is actually meant as a joke originally. There wasn't meant to be any sequels, let alone a whole trilogy, but it was meant to be a standalone movie. And the end where Doc shows up, it was supposed to be just like a gag, just for fun. And so Doc shows up, rolling up in the time machine, just as Jennifer and Marty about to kiss. For some reason, there's always people cock-blocking Jennifer and Marty. I don't know what it is. So they're just about to kiss. Doc shows up in the DeLorean. Marty, you got to come back with me. Back to where? Back to the future. And he's like, what are you doing now? He's like rummaging through his trash can. Turns out he replaced the plutonium with a fusion reactor. He's pouring the beer cans and shit in this thing. Go ahead, get in the car. No, I just got here. I'm going to take the new truck for a spin. I'm here with Jennifer, and we'll bring her along. It concerns her too. And he's like, what are you talking about, Doc? He's like, what happens to us in the future? What do we become assholes or something? He's like, no, Marty. I like how in the original one, there's like no hesitation. He's like, no. And then in the second one, they added a little bit of a pause just to make it more hilarious. He had to think about it. Like, no, you're not assholes. But he's like, oh, maybe you kind of are. I don't know. But he's like, no, and it's about your kids, Marty. Something's got to be done about your kids. And so he piles Jennifer and Marty into the car, and then he backs up. He's like, Doc, you're going to have to back up. There's no room to get up to 88. And what does he say?
Roads.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
I love it. One of the best lines in the movie. One of the most iconic lines in the movie. President Reagan, who... he was actually very tickled by this movie. He had a private screening of it, and he actually liked the joke where Marty is saying, like, oh, you remember Doc asks Marty, like, who's president of the United States in 1985? And he's like, Ronald Reagan. And then Doc's like, Ronald Reagan, the actor? Ronald Reagan was so he found that part so hilarious that he had him stop the movie, rewind it, and play it back. And then in one of his speeches, Ronald Reagan actually used the line, roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. So it became very, very famous line. I mean, if you ask anybody a quote from Back to the Future, that's going to be one of them. And then, of course, the car lifts off, the wheels fold up, and then the car starts flying, and it flies down the street back towards the camera, and boom, and a big flash of light. And then we start with Huey Lewis's Back in Time to finish off the movie. Such an epic movie. I mean, like I said, it's a perfect movie. Has such great payoffs, setups. The story is just a very human story about generations and people, and just learning about your past and who you are as a person, and learning about humanity, and finding yourself and correcting rights where that once went wrong, like so much Sam Beckett. But I don't know, that's a whole nother time travel story for another day. But I don't know, definitely I'd say my favorite movie of all time. I'm gonna go there and say it's my favorite movie. It's always fighting for number one with Ghostbusters, but I think Back to the Future just edges it out. It's the perfect movie. What do you say?
Oh, I agree.
If you had to rate Back to the Future out of 5, what would you rate it?
A 10 out of 10.
Oh, you're just going straight for the 10? Okay, yeah. I would agree. Normally I don't give movies a perfect score, but I would say I would be a 10.
2 thumbs up.
I think that's copyrighted, but I would definitely give it a 10 out of 10. It's a solid movie. I have no complaints here about it. It's one of those movies that's going to go down in history forever. And I don't know. It's just timeless, no pun intended. And I hope they never touch it. Do not make any remakes, no sequels, no soft reboots, no whatever. It's like they had a video game that was fine enough. They kind of acted as a sequel. They have a freaking musical out. I want to see the musical. But yeah, it's perfect as is. As Robert Zemeckis said, I would never make a 4th movie because it ruins the tension. Because there's tension in 3s. Like a movie is a 3-act setup where you have, like Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, and it pays off an arc, a story, that has, where it builds up and it falls off. And the same thing with a trilogy of movies. It's like, you have the first movie. The second movie is kind of like the Empire Strikes Back, where you have everything just seems to be falling apart. Especially after in the second movie, the Doc gets struck by lightning in the DeLorean and he gets sent back to God knows where, and then now he has to go rescue him in 1885, and that's when you have the third movie. It pays off, and then we have a resolution at the end. And to add another movie to that would be criminal, I think. But I don't know, man. It doesn't need any more. Back to the Future is great. And, yeah, I'll be watching it for years to come. I want to introduce it to my kid. And hopefully they introduce it to their children as well.
Yep.
Well, I had fun talking about this movie with you. A little side note here, a little humble brag. I actually had the chance to meet. A meet is a I'll use the term meet very loosely. I had a chance to be in the room with Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, and am I missing anybody?
Tom Wilson.
Oh, the great Tom Wilson. Duh. Hello, McFly. I had a chance to be in the room with all of them. I got a photograph with them, although I look awful. But I was supposed to be dressed as Biff, old Biff from the future. But I must say I did get a fist bump from Tom Wilson. And he's like, "Hey, now that's cosplay," and he fist bumped me. Unfortunately, I meant to bring my almanac to get autographed by him, but I totally forgot it. Luckily, my mom and my brother went the next day. They got to meet him. I didn't get a chance to meet him. I mean, like I said, I did see him in person, but I didn't get a chance to chat with him, unfortunately. But they got to meet him. They talked with him about some stuff, like the time he went to play a guitar at our local church.
That's right. I heard about it.
He knew the priest there, and so we actually got to see him. I remember my brother and I, we kept hearing an announcement, and they were like, "Oh, Tom Wilson is going to come and play guitar, and in a couple weeks." And we're like, "Oh, that's funny that the guy, the guitar guy, has the same name as the guy who plays Biff." And then the week right before he showed up, he's like, and they're like, "Tom Wilson from Back to the Future will be here to play guitar." I'm like, we're like, "Oh shit." Okay, so we were definitely showing up to church next week, and then we watched him play. He was great, and he wasn't signing any autographs. People wanted autographs from him. He wasn't signing them. Obviously, he's doing a church event. He's not going to sign anything, and we didn't try and ask him for anything. We knew not to be disrespectful like that, and so we just kind of stared at him as we walked by. But yeah, and then so yeah, but I got to be in the room with those legends. And I have a picture, even though I don't look the best. I still have a picture with them. Maybe I'll edit out my double chin and I'll post it up here on Instagram at Men Watch Movies. Check that out. But and we also have a Facebook page. I think it's also at Men Watch Movies. But it's been great talking about this movie. One of my favorites. We've gone on entirely too long. I know you're tired. It is literally almost 2 a.m. I'm sorry for keeping you up.
That's okay.
But this is the only time I had.
I'm a night owl.
Me too. I'm still gonna stay up after this, and watch some TV and clean up around the house. But it's been great. Next episode, I hope to cover. Actually, I want to. The next episode I want to go see Superman, and we could talk about the new Superman movie.
Oh yeah.
I can't talk about it with you yet because I don't want to spoil it for myself. We'll talk about Superman for our next episode, and then the episode after that, I want to do a tribute to the Fantastic Four. We could talk about Gillian McMahon and the Ioan Gruffudd, the Tim Story Fantastic Four movie, in preparation for the new Fantastic Four with Pedro Pascal and all that. So, so those are our next 2 episodes we have in store. Well, it's been great doing this episode with you. My name is Alec.
And my name's DJ, the Movie Man Wagner, also known as the COE of the Men Who Watch Movies.
And I want to remind you all to keep on watching. Thank you, everybody.